Hi, everyone. Welcome to your show, Coffee with Experts. This is your host, Ranmay here. And today we have Ted, who is the CEO of Ballistic Arts with us. Hey, Ted, how are you? All good, Ted. Ted, before we move any forward, let's get to the human behind the mic. How has been your journey so far? How did you start Ballistic Arts? How is it going? What were the challenges? And we take it from there.
Yeah, Ballistic Arts. So thanks for having me on the show, Ranmay. It's nice to meet you and hope
Pleasure.
everything is good in Delhi over there. Yeah, Ballistic Arts, we started in the room above my parents' garage 22 years ago. And we started as a video production company back in the day of VHS and DVDs. And people were just like, yeah, no, I don't even have a TV in my basement or my business. No, we don't need video services. But I actually need some graphic design done for my restaurant menus. I need a website done. Can you help me with that? And so we slowly grew our agency into a creative agency. And we worked in junior mining a lot. We were in the West Coast Canada. And so because of that, there's a lot of junior mining companies. We did a ton of work there. And then from there, we just one step at a time grew and got into healthcare, got into real estate development. There's a lot of real estate developers in Vancouver. And so we did a lot of work there. And then about 5-6 years ago, I pivoted the business, bought out my business partner, and turned it into a lead gen digital marketing agency. So we help a lot of companies that are struggling, trying to get qualified opportunities and sales for their business. And that's what we do.
Lovely. Talking about lead gen, you yourself host the Marketing News Canada podcast, right? So how do you feel podcast as a lead gen source, and what industries or niches do you feel it works the best?
Yeah, I don't actually believe podcasts are, people do it as a lead gen source. I actually don't, like, I really have an interest for Marketing News Canada on marketing folks, like learning and understanding from these experts globally. I'm not one to do things to, go get business, when I'm not having a hidden agenda. Let's create a podcast and let's get business from these people. That's not what I do. And I know there's a lot of people doing it. I'm not sure if that's what you're doing with your podcast, but we don't like to do that. It's really just getting to know the human being and learn from them. And if business comes from it, so be it. Business is great and that's fine. There is an element of PR, I think, that happens with this, that if you get the word out and people get to know you, and I think that helps. But no, at no point are we looking to get business from our guests, if that's what you're asking.
Right. Our agenda is also to share knowledge pieces with the industry at large. And if clients come in, if it is a byproduct of the process, so be it. What I intended to ask was, and from a generic perspective for industries like law firm marketing, we see a lot of law firm marketing agencies hosting lawyers, advocates, and a lot of other industries as well. So podcasts in general as a lead gen machinery was what I intended to ask. But yeah, I got a point there. So Ted, Ballistic Arts has grown into multi-million-dollar business. So what, according to you, are some of the key decisions or strategies you would have implemented to achieve this kind of growth?
I don't know if there's one sound strategy. I think it's going to depend on the individual, the owner, what your vision is. I think it starts with, I had a mentor, and you can look him up, paintedpicture.com. He does this where he got us to figure out where we as the business owners wanted to go. So we go and build a kind of forward-thinking picture of our life in the next 5-10 years. And you literally could do this picture and and it's not just for business. Sure, there's the business aspect, but what about family, health, spirituality, community? Yes, there's finances. Yes, there's business. But life is not just business. Life is not just how much money you have in your bank account. Those things are a means to a lifestyle, right? And for us, it's where do we want to go? What our dreams are. And so having that crystallized and visualize our future has been extremely helpful. And actually, in fact, that exercise I still do. And I've been able to basically hit 80-90% of all the goals that I've ever written out and blasted on it's actually on this screen right now, this backdrop. And I've been able to hit that. And so I think visualization is one. Hunger for continued growth is important. Reading a lot. Like, you can come out of university with a degree, but you're really not going to, that's the starting point. If you stop learning at that point, good luck. Your career's not really going to flourish. So you really got to do a ton of different learning after school. Right. Even now I'm reading like 4 or 5 different books right now. And you just got to continue. You got to continue on.
Yeah, it is an ongoing process, right, through your career. Talking about career, you have been in the space for more than 20 years now. Now, that's quite a long time, right?
Mm.
What keeps you motivated and passionate about the world of B2B marketing?
I have a new YouTube channel called TED, and you can check it out. And I actually talk a bit
Mhm.
about this in some of my videos where the love of what you do is going to be more important than talent and more important than looking for something that you think is going to make you money. So I love marketing and all aspects of it. I don't think I could actually, I'm sure I could if I really needed to start a business on like furniture sales or start a business selling iPhone cases or clothes. Like it's just, those are things that I don't care about. But I really have a passion for marketing. I love to understand how people tick. I have a background, a degree in communication studies. So I really like learning how people interact with messaging and story and all those kinds of things. So to get to your point, like that's really it. It's I've always had an inherent interest and love for marketing, and I don't think that's really going away. When it comes to B2B,
Mhm.
why I also like doing that is I jokingly say it's the ugly stepchild of marketing.
Mhm.
No one cares about B2B. Like marketers, like they want to market for Nike, they want to market for Disney, they want to market for Manchester United, like on your logo there.
Yeah.
They don't want to market, like most people don't even know about B2B companies when they first enter the market. They're like, what do you mean?
Sure.
So there's a supplier that sells this widget to another supplier that then sells to the client that then sells to the end consumer. What is that all about? So like that boring, ugly stepchild of business is actually the backbone of our economy. A lot of people don't appreciate that, but that's a big part of our economies in the world.
Very true.
And that gets extremely neglected. And those people are typically very jaded because I don't think they get the love. They don't know how to do their marketing properly, all that kind of stuff. And so we come on and we help them create a really good plan, a solid plan, work backwards. And it's all about money. Like B2B folks, like they're not super precious about their brand and whatnot. They at the end of the day, they're more mid-market companies that want to put food on the table, make sure that they're making money and that they can continue. And so it's very refreshing when we can change their opinion about marketing and see that it's not a necessary evil that is in fact
Mhm.
a profit center. So for if it's a math equation and it's been very good that way. For every dollar you put in, you get 5 or 10 back. You're probably going to keep paying me for that
Yeah.
that dollar. And that's what we've done. And we very much enjoy it. I also love the fact that with B2B, there are businesses that you've never heard of that you never think that's a business. And so this is
That
very
exists. Yeah.
interesting. It's very interesting. And to see how other entrepreneurs operate. I love the fact that in marketing, we can see really a lot of the economy, like the macroeconomics of it is very interesting. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can completely relate to what you said, right? Coming across businesses which you would not even realize or have imagined that it existed, right? So can completely relate to that. Talking about B2B lead gen, Ted, you touched upon messaging and crafting that storytelling and all of that, right? What is your secret sauce for crafting content that attracts and converts qualified leads? Because like you would know, right? Sales and marketing, they always have this challenge of MQLs and SQLs. So what is your secret sauce for crafting that content which kind of resonates with their audience?
Gary Vaynerchuk put out a book almost a decade ago now. Well, almost 2 decades ago. Oh my goodness. So old. Called Jab. I don't know how many jabs. Right hook. And
Hmm.
that's really all it is. It's providing really good value and not really expecting anything in return. Right? Providing very good value. It's I don't know if you're married there, Renmay, but when you're
I am.
if you're very desperate to go on a date,
Uh-huh.
you're not going to get any dates. No dates for you. But if you're pretty
Right.
chill and just like showing, hey, this is who we are, what we do, and how we can provide love in a home and all that kind of stuff, fun time and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
you're
Right.
going to get more attraction. And with marketing, it's the same thing. Rather than, hey, can you buy from me? Do you want to buy from me? Hey, you need this. Do you want to buy from me? Buy from me. Fuck off. That's stupid. That's not going to work. So you got to understand what the pain points are for your personas, the people that you're actually marketing to, and actually really understanding What makes them tick? How are they losing sleep at night? And then providing them with really good, substantial, actual qualified content that matters, that someone they're actually going to read, that they actually care about.
Very true.
And do that en masse, continue to do it in all different parts of marketing, be it video, be it blogs, be it, yeah, sure, SEO, PPC is a big thing. Having a website that's very impactful, that actually provides good content, not garbage marketing stuff, is going to be extremely important. So that takes time, that takes effort. I don't know that ChatGPT is going to be something that's going to be able to overcome that anytime soon. And that is really the secret sauce. And then you make them a fan of yours. You make them someone that loves what you have to say, your brand and all that kind of stuff, is show that you're an expert. And over time, it's going to happen. It's not overnight. Anything worth doing is not going to be overnight. And if anyone that's a marketer that's listening to this and think that it is, you're sadly mistaken. You're going to be a flash in the pan, and you're not going to last the decades that it requires to be successful in this business.
Absolutely. I love the fact when you talked about content, and we firmly believe here at Additional Web Solutions not to write content just for the Google algos and stuff, because the content is gonna get consumed by humans to make that final decision of either buying a product or using a service or whatever you're trying to sell. So that brand storytelling in terms of resonating with your audience is so crucial versus trying to just think about it from SEO and Google and all the algorithms perspective.
Yeah, totally. I think though that one thing that people don't recognize is culture is very important. Understanding like who you're talking to in your particular area.
Right.
And that's why I'm sure there are definitely aspects of offshoring that might make sense. But like in terms of content building, it's very tough. Like how are you going to go and film something at a client's warehouse in Pasadena and stuff like that if you're out in about different places? So you got to be able to manage that part of it, but also be able to speak the lingo in a way that's actually going to be impactful. Because if the end user doesn't relate to the content because it doesn't make sense, it doesn't speak to them, it doesn't speak to the tonality that they are used to and they like, then sure, you might be able to get the algorithms to find you, but they won't convert.
Yeah, absolutely. They won't, right? Because it is your brand. And I tell you, while a lot of brands target the large blue ocean out there, but it makes a lot of sense to ask your existing customers what exactly they looked at for in you while they chosen you as their choice of business partner or product which they purchased, so that you then understand why those people came to you, what they looked at you, right? And then you understand the market sentiment about your brand, and then do the storytelling versus trying to please the blue ocean out there, trying to target the market and the target audience that we all talk about in marketing language. But at the same time, we forget that the existing customer base that we already have, why did they come to you? Why did they make that choice to get associated with your brand, buy your product, use your service? So it is very important to do that data research and then use that tonality.
Totally.
Right. And in today's B2B landscape, they're talking about content marketing. How can businesses leverage personalization to stand out in such a crowded marketplace? Because everyone is doing digital marketing these days, right? So how does
not everybody, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Sure, people are doing it, but they're not doing it properly. And it takes time. I think it's patience more than anything else. Is that it takes patience, it takes resources, it takes guts, quite frankly, because a lot of people are like, I'm just going to shotgun approach. It takes strategy, right? Actually understanding that you're not just doing this for shits and giggles, that you're actually going to do this and actually, how are you going to make money? How are you going to, you want to go, I know I need to exercise. But if you have no goal as to what's your weight loss, you got to maintain that. What's the health metric? Like all those kinds of things. If you don't have that goal, then if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So you need to be able to have a really good understanding of where you want to go. And then from there, build an actual plan that's going to get you there. Don't just do the fluff. Like you go and talk to an SEO agency, they're going to be like, yeah, you got to do SEO to solve your problem. Or if you got to talk to a web company, you got to build a new website. You talk to a brand company, they're like, oh yeah, you need a new logo, you need a new brand, all that kind of stuff. And that's BS, because they're just trying to sell you the service in which they're providing. What is different about at least what we do at my company is that we go and really think about where the client is at today, where the competitors at today, and then pick at the low-hanging fruit that's there and then attack that first. And ultimately, it's all about measuring the results. Are you actually getting money from it? If you're not making money doing this, then there's something wrong. But it's going to take time. It's going to require some guts, because most marketers, especially on the B2B side, want to spend as little as possible and then expect a big result. You got to do it like math. You got to do it like, if you're going to hire if you're going to hire a COO that's going to manage your entire company, they're probably going to cost you a penny or two, but they're going to be a bit more efficient. So if you're going to hire a really top-notch salesperson, sure, they're going to cost you a little bit more, but they're going to return you way more. If you're going to invest in this piece of equipment, that's going to cost you $5 million. I have a client that invested $5 million on this. I'm not going to say which client, but they invested in a big hunk of equipment on manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. And that machine, while it was very expensive, it returned them a huge chunk of their business. And in fact, now I believe that piece of machinery accounts for like 80% of all their new business. So it's an investment. It's an ROI. What are you planning to do there? And you got to have a really good plan. Like, you go and build, again, I'll go back to the machinery piece. They built that machine for my client that I'm talking about. They built it. So no one ever done it, but like, they created a strategy to go, okay, we're going to do X, Y, Z, build this thing. And then we're going to be able to track these kind of clients and then export this amount of product. And therefore we're going to make this much money. It's the same thing with marketing. And I think a lot of people get lost on that. And I think maybe that's why we've been quite successful at what we do.
Lovely. So Ted, give us some effective strategies for nurturing leads and moving them through the B2B sales funnel, which is quite a longer sales funnel versus the B2C.
I think a lot of the retargeting is very important, and then having lead magnets on your site, because you're going to have to attract, like you said, sales cycles are typically longer. Maybe I found your company, but my budget doesn't reset for another 3 months. What am I going to do? So we're going to have to things like email marketing. If you have a really good email campaign, that's an email platform that is drip marketing, but has really good, effective content that shows that you're the expert, that your product is ace, and why you've been able to solve stuff. Don't talk about how great you are. Talk about the problems that you're solving, and talk about in relation to the pain that the person that's that's the lead, will experience. If you can do all of that over time, that's fantastic.
Lovely. Give us your favorite client story, Ted.
I've been in business 22 years, so I don't know. Give me a bit more than that. What do you mean in terms of what? My favorite client story?
Anything, probably a deal which you did not expect to crack, but you guys cracked it, or maybe in terms of revenue, it skyrocketed. Anything that you wish to share, your call.
I had a client, and I got to be mindful because we're on a public podcast here. I have a client. The client's been with me for ages. And when they first came to us, older gentleman, okay, there's a professional service company. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, professional services. Older gentleman, and during the heat of COVID, and he was like, "You people have lost me so much money." And I'm like, "What do you mean, you people?" But because it was COVID, and this person had run their professional services firm for probably 3 decades at that point. And they did all their biz dev. It was a small boutique service industry company. And COVID is, you can't go out, because you're in North America anyway. You can't go out, especially as someone that's almost on the senior citizen side of life. You're going to die if you go out and network. And people aren't networking anyway. It's COVID. Everything was shut down. So their COO came to us and said, so-and-so, we're going to call him Ernie. So Ernie is not able to go sell because he'll die. But if Ernie's not selling, no one's making any money, and then the business is literally tanking. So can you help us? All right. And this is when Ernie's, you people have made me so much money. I don't believe in it. So we sign, we create a plan, start rolling out the campaigns. And 6 weeks into the campaign, which normally it takes longer. I told you, you got to be patient. 6 weeks into the frickin' campaign, Ernie calls a meeting and he's, tell me why we shouldn't fire you right now for wasting all my money. And one of my team members like, Ernie, sir, we actually, if you look at your report, and normally we don't have, like, we need time. We actually say in our plans, it's going to take you 4 or 6 months or whatever to start seeing the revenue return. But we were like, we actually beat your biggest competition already on Google. That we surpassed the competition. We actually got you 5 qualified leads. And one of them actually turned into a business. And he's like, what? He asked the CEO, and the CEO was like, it's so-and-so company. And he turns around, he's like, it's an honor and a privilege to work with you, young man. And since then, they have never called us. Like, we account for 80% of their all their new business. And they've been extremely happy. So it was it's a nice story because they were extremely jaded, and most of our clients are extremely jaded human beings. They don't believe, especially in the B2B side, they just don't believe that digital marketing can actually make them money. Here we are making them money.
Lovely, Ted. Ted, finally, I would like you to share one piece of advice for our listeners today, for young folks especially who are trying to make a mark in this digital marketing space. Clearly, you have been in the space for quite some time now and have made it big, right? So what is that one piece of advice you'd want the young fellows trying to make a mark in the digital marketing space to keep an eye out for?
I think, like I said at the very beginning, continuous learning. You have to continue learning. Like, this space changes every 2 weeks kind of thing at this point. Right? Seriously. And you got to keep learning if you want to be a technician. And for someone that wants to get into leadership, it's still learning. You got to learn different skill sets rather than learning the technical skill sets. Learn how to lead people, how to manage people, how to communicate well with people. Those are really important. That's more important than you should take a GA4 course. No, like, that's not going to, sure, you should do that, but those are table stakes. How are you going to be able to speak to human beings? How are you going to be able to work with people well? How are you going to think creatively? How are you going to be strategically minded? These are all things that take time, and it takes patience, and you got to continue learning. If you're not learning, then you're falling behind.
Great, Ted. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. For our audiences, if they want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Yeah, no, thank you, Ranmay. So ballisticarts.com, that's our website that you can find more information from the company. You can always find me on LinkedIn. I look like this. There's a few Ted Laus there, but I'm probably the most, like, I'm not, there's like a cardiologist in California. I think there's like a partner in Shanghai for an ad agency, funny enough, or maybe it was an ad agency. And then there's a photographer in Hong Kong. But other than that, in North America, I'm the guy. So you can find me there. And also on YouTube, there's @TED. You can check us out on YouTube and Meta and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, hopefully I hear from some of your fans.
Lovely, Ted. Thank you so much for taking out time and doing this with us. Really appreciate it, man. Cheers.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.